Tonight on To The Point.
Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making.
President Trump fulfilling his campaign promise to eliminate the Department of Education. The possible impacts to funding here in California. California is facing a Medicaid funding gap. How decisions in Washington could add to the strain. Plus, a gas tax alternative. Why the state is considering charging you for how many miles you drive on the road. And providing life-saving services. The new ambulance station connecting a Northern California community. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. First tonight, in a historical action, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order calling for the dismantling of the Department of Education, fulfilling one of his campaign promises. The department was created by Congress back in 1979 to, quote, strengthen the federal commitment to ensuring access to equal educational opportunity for every individual. The Trump administration has argued that U.S. schools are failing, despite that the department does not administer curriculum, create lessons, or set requirements for enrollment and graduation. Trump says the goal of the order is to improve education outcomes by empowering parents, states, and communities.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs.
Critics argue this move will gut public education funding and hurt millions of low-income students and those with disabilities. The department, however, is not set to close completely. Trump says other departments will take on certain critical functions, including preserving Title I funding for low-income schools, Pell Grants, and money for children with disabilities. The White House said earlier it would also continue to manage federal student loans. But what does this executive order mean for California? We asked the California Department of Education how it could impact funding and programs.
The administration is already disrupting services. They've canceled contracts. They've eliminated critical positions at the department that ensure oversight of important federal programs, especially those that serve students with disabilities. They've already closed down the Office for Civil Rights in the state of California that is there to protect students and ensure that federal dollars are being spent appropriately. And so the executive order has already failed in the respect of disrupting services, programs, and benefits for American students.
An entire dismantling of the department is not possible without an act from Congress. Republicans say they will introduce a bill to achieve that. A federal judge today has temporarily blocked the Department of Government Efficiency from Social Security systems that hold personal data on millions of Americans. The judge found that the team got broad access to sensitive information at the Social Security Administration to search for fraud with little justification. The order requires the team to delete any personally identifiable data in their possession. The ruling could be challenged. California is facing a $6.2 billion budget gap in the state's Medicaid services, known as Medi-Cal. The shortfall comes a year after the state launched coverage expansion to provide free health care to all low-income adults, regardless of their immigration status. That's now costing $2.7 billion more than projected. Newsom's administration last week told lawmakers it took out a $3.44 billion loan from the general fund to make payments for this month, but additional money will be needed to cover costs already committed through June. The state is also bracing for budget hits if Republicans in Congress follow through with a plan to slash billions of Medicaid and SNAP funding. Today, Democratic Congresswoman Doris Matsui joined families at the Yolo County Children's Alliance to push back against efforts to cut the critical programs. In February, House Republicans passed a budget resolution which could open the door to cut $880 billion in Medicaid funding and $230 billion in SNAP funding.
It is our job now to get in there and fight. And that's what we want to do now, and we're doing it now. We want the other side to do the same thing, because this just doesn't impact my district, it impacts their districts too.
House Republicans are considering a budget package that could contain those cuts. California currently offers Medicaid services to some 15 million people and SNAP to more than 5 million. Right now, Californians pay the nation's highest state gas tax, currently sitting at about 60 cents per gallon, but an alternative could be on the horizon. With more electric vehicles hitting the roads, the state is studying whether to switch to charging all drivers per mile. ABC's Becca Habecker joins us now. Becca, we understand Caltrans is calling this the California road charge, right?
Yeah, Alex, you and I, we had a lot of questions this morning when we discussed this in our editorial meeting, like how would the state know how much each person drives? Well, Caltrans is still studying that and more, but we can get a sense of what they're considering.
If you put gas in your vehicle, then you know that all too painful price at the pump. It's one reason why some people are switching to gasless electric vehicles or zero-emission vehicles. But as more drivers make the switch, states across the country face a drop in gas tax revenue, says Michael Manville, professor and chair of the Department of Urban Planning at UCLA.
The purchasing power of the fuel tax, which is the main way that we finance transportation infrastructure, has been steadily declining.
Caltrans says right now about 80% of California's highway and road repairs are funded by the gas tax. But analysts say that revenue could drop by some $5 billion in a decade if the state meets its climate goals. Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order in 2020 requiring all new passenger vehicles sold in California to be zero emission by 2035.
We have a lot more electric cars, we have a lot more hybrid cars, and just the typical new car just gets better gas mileage.
Now the state is considering something called the California Road Charge, as Caltrans explains in a video.
If you drive a new electric sedan or an old but faithful minivan, you pay for the number of miles you drive. California is studying road charge as a tool that might replace the gas tax. Because as we move toward a zero-emission future, the gas tax won't last forever.
Caltrans conducted a California road charge pilot last year and is currently studying the results. It tracked how much people drove each month through 3 reporting methods: plug-in devices, vehicle telematics, and photographed odometers. It charged 2.5 cents per mile for passenger vehicles. But some say a per-mile road charge is not fair. Writing to Governor Gavin Newsom in 2021, then Senate Republican leader Scott Wilkes said, in part, as long as we fail to build housing in adequate supplies to house our workforce near their jobs, then the working poor are still going to be paying far more in vehicle miles traveled fees than their wealthy counterparts. This is fundamentally unfair and targets those who can least afford to pay the fee. The bill passed and Newsom signed it. But whether a road charge system ultimately replaces California's gas tax is still in question and would be years away.
I could be wrong, but I'm not sure this is coming down the pike anytime soon.
Caltrans plans on releasing a final report from the pilot program later this year.
All right, as we learned through our research today, other states are also trying this road charge as well, too. It's not just California.
Yeah, that's right. In Utah, for example, drivers of electric vehicles can either pay a flat annual fee of about $140 or opt into the Utah Road Usage Charge Program instead, paying 1.11 cents per mile, but no more than the cost of that flat annual fee. So if you drive less, you pay less. And in Utah, they offer 2 mileage reporting options, one with telematics. The vehicle automatically records and reports mileage data. And the other method, customers take a picture of their odometer every 3 months using a mobile device. Neither option involves sharing location data, the state says. And in Hawaii's road charge program, launching in 2028, odometers will be read at annual vehicle inspections.
All right, Becca. Well, you already know. We'll continue to follow this, Becca. Thank you so much. All right, stay with us. Still ahead on To the Point, how one local city is working to provide life-saving help with a new ambulance station.
And much warmer weather is just around the corner. It's the first day of spring, and it'll be feeling like spring. I've got the details coming up.
Plus, family members of the Menendez brothers pleading for their release, why they say they're frustrated with the district attorney. All right, let's get a check of our forecast with meteorologist Brendan Mitchev. It was a beautiful day outside today.
Yeah, it really was.
I got to sit outside, eat lunch, enjoy the weather. It was very nice.
Yeah, but most of us spend our days inside, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we don't even always get to enjoy these nice days that we have. But certainly we did get some sunshine out there. Temperatures in those mid-60s as we take a look at the wall. Here in just a second, you'll see that 64 in Sacramento, 64 in Stockton, 65 in Modesto, 66 Vacaville, 64 in Fairfield. Temperatures are running several degrees below average for the time of year still, however. In fact, we were about 3 degrees below average in Sacramento, 5 degrees below average in Stockton, and 4 below average in Modesto. But again, we did end up getting some sunshine out there. In fact, you see most of the clouds right now north of Interstate 80, but at least we're dry. There's still some showers up along the far north coast up into Humboldt County, Eureka, Crescent City, seeing some rain as well. Some showers north of Shasta and some snow showers across the northeast plateau. At the moment, 62 Currently in Sacramento, 62, in Elk Grove, 61, Stockton, 64, in Manteca, 63, Modesto, 50, Placerville, 45, and Truckee, 42. In South Lake Tahoe, through the next few hours, we'll be dropping into the 50s with still some clouds out there. And in fact, we're going to have some clouds through the overnight as well. We'll call it passing clouds. 43. We're waking up early on Friday morning. 43 Stockton, 43 Modesto, 41 Jackson, 42 in Auburn, 45 Colusa, 20s and low 30s in the high country. Friday afternoon, though, another day with a mix of sun and clouds. In fact, it may be clearing a little bit as the day goes on. Friday morning looks mostly cloudy for sure, but 65 Sacramento. Tomorrow afternoon, 67 Stockton, 68 Modesto. Temperatures eking closer towards where we should be for the time of year. As we take a look at Futurecast, we stay dry through the overnight. Again, lots of clouds through the first half of tomorrow. Some showers up in the far northern part of the state, but then by lunchtime we could see a few light snow showers in the high country. I think we stay mainly dry across the valley tomorrow, but if we see a quick passing shower, it's definitely not out of the question. Saturday as well, some passing showers are possible, but I'll tell you what, temperatures are really warming up. We're going to be in those 80s Monday, 82 on Tuesday. So it's first day of spring, and Alex, it'll be feeling like spring.
Thank you. Next one to the point, a Shasta County mom's disappearance now being investigated as a homicide. Why deputies think someone was involved. Plus the family of the Menendez brothers bringing their fight for their release to the district attorney's steps.
Free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app has so much to offer. Get your news live and on demand 24/7 so you can watch the news when you want. There's breaking news, extended forecast, and so much more. We have everything you need to get through your day and ready for the weekend. We've got you covered on money-saving tips, travel, entertainment, and sports. Download the free ABC 10 Plus app on your smart TV and popular streaming devices like Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and more. ABC 10. We stand for you 24/7.
The family of Eric and Lyle Menendez say they will not be ignored and will not stop fighting for the brothers to be released from prison. They, along with supporters, held a rally and spoke today outside the Los Angeles District Attorney's office. The current district attorney has taken a harder stance against resentencing than his predecessor. Here's Melissa Adom with more on why the family and supporters say it's time for the brothers to come home.
More than a dozen relatives and friends of Eric and Lyle Menendez gathered outside Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman's office as they call for the brothers to be released from prison.
Today we stand together, not just for Eric and Lyle, but for every person who has been silenced, for every person who has fought to be believed, and for every person who has been told that the worst thing they ever did defines them forever.
On March 10th, Hochman asked the court to withdraw a motion put forward by his predecessor for the brothers to be resentenced, saying he would only consider resentencing if the brothers admit to what he says are decades of lies.
If they sincerely and unequivocally admit for the first time in over 30 years the full range of their criminal activity and all the lies that they have told about it.
Lyle and Eric were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, with a shotgun in 1989. The request for resentencing is one of three options they are pursuing for release. The brothers have claimed they killed in self-defense following years of abuse at the hands of their father. Hochman stresses that sex abuse was never their defense at trial.
There was no additional corroboration of anyone in 12 years, whether it was another adult, a friend, a coach, a teacher, who reported recipient information that the sexual abuse occurred during those 12 years.
But the Menendez family says the brothers endured horrific abuse and have admitted guilt and apologized. The family accusing the DA of being hostile and patronizing.
We are gathered here today because truth matters. Because survivors of abuse deserve to be heard.
Family members do say they feel hopeful for the possibility of clemency as the brothers are scheduled to face a parole board come June. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
The disappearance case for a missing Shasta County mom has escalated to a homicide case. 39-year-old Nikki McCain was reported missing by her family almost 10 months ago. Back in June, supporters rallied outside the Capitol attempting to bring attention to her case. The Shasta County Sheriff's Office says they determined her disappearance to be a homicide based on evidence gathered, information learned from interviews, and the fact that none of her family members have heard from her since she vanished. Detectives say they have identified people of interest in the case, but their names have not been released. A reward of up to $30,000 is being offered for information. For years, Lodi residents in need of an ambulance have had to wait for one to come all the way from Stockton. Now that wait is getting a lot shorter. ABC10's Gabriel Porras visited the news station and tells us about the work underway to get people even more life-saving help.
Traffic and red lights are a part of life, but in an emergency, any delay could be deadly.
Seconds count. Brain death begins, minutes after a cardiac event, and seconds are important.
And there are so many seconds that Lodi's Deputy Fire Chief Tim Ortegal wishes he could get back in the more than 20 years that AMR has been the area's main ambulance company.
Traffic happens. Unfortunately, we've had to wait for ambulances too at times. So with their deployment station down in Stockton, there would be times where they had shift change, and there may not be an ambulance here in town.
But not anymore.
This location is taking about 13 miles of drive time from Stockton up here. We're deploying 4 ambulances 24/7.
The new station is already open and being used 24/7. But look at all this empty space right behind it. AMR officials say it was left like that for a reason.
We have the ability to stage ambulances or fire apparatus. We have a large enough area if we had to land a medical helicopter.
And we know for a fact that it's probably going to save lives.
Deputy Chief Ortegal's firefighters are also working on another way to try to save more lives.
So currently, Lodi Fire Department is a BLS agency. It's oxygen. We could do splinting, blood control. We have received approval to go advanced life support, just that higher level of care. You're bringing that emergency room to the patient.
Which means even more life-saving medical help, potentially right in your neighborhood.
We're heading upwards. The trend is upward. We're doing everything we can to decrease response times, improve patient care at every level.
In Lodi, Gabriel Porras, ABC 10.
And several firefighters are currently in school to be trained on advanced life support. The fire department hopes to start offering it in July. All right, right after the break, Champions of Hope meet a 3-year-old who sprung right into action to help save his great-grandmother's life. We know that in news, stories are filled with challenges and hardships, but incredible things are happening every day, from neighbors helping neighbors to inspiring acts of kindness. Each week in our segment, Champions of Hope, we're going to be highlighting stories on people that are making a difference, reminding us of the power of community. Tonight, reporter Janelle Finch introduces us to a toddler who was tested by his fear of the dark, but was brave enough to help his great-grandmother after she had a serious fall.
3-year-olds,
hey here, buddy,
don't always follow directions.
Bridger, what'd I tell you? Come here.
3-year-olds will sometimes do what they shouldn't.
Bridger, don't put him in the grass.
But when 3-year-old Bridger Peabody needed to listen most, he did.
If Bridger wasn't there,
I don't know what I would have done.
Sharon Lewis is Bridger's great-grandma.
Gigi!
His Gigi.
Grandma! Bridger, come over here, honey.
One night in February, Bridger's sister needed to get treatment at Children's Hospital. So while his family stayed with his sister, Gigi offered to take Bridger home.
And we went up to the backyard, dark backyard, and then we got up to the door where I was going to get the keys out.
She had her walker, and she fell.
And when I fell, I hit the corner of the cement step.
She bumped her head, and then it popped open.
Sharon says she couldn't get up or call for help. Her phone was still in the car.
And I said, you know what? You're going to have to go out to the car and get my phone.
I was scared outside in the really dark.
But Bridger did brave the really dark.
And he yells, I got it, Gigi.
Sharon Sharon was able to call other family to get her an ambulance.
But she's all better.
Bridger wouldn't call himself a big kid.
I know. But when I grew up like a big kid, I can help Gigi.
You see him?
When it comes to 3-year-olds,
You're Gigi's hero.
Bridger is in a league of his own.
He's just a blessing.
A true champion of hope. And we know there are so many more stories that are waiting to be told. So if you know someone making a difference, we'd love to hear about it. You can always share a story with us by emailing us at tothepoint@abc10.com. Together, we can keep spreading a little bit of positivity, one story at a time. As always, thank you so much for watching and providing us into your home each and every night. Don't forget, To The Point does not end here. You can always watch stories that are featured on our show. Just download our free ABC 10 Plus streaming app. Have a great night. See you later.